Hi, this is another installment of the Booggie Broadcast. Today I got my good friend Ryan in the house. Isaiah's leaving laughing. He can't even take it
that
serious.
didn't take long.
That's a small. That's a lightweight introduction. That's fun. Isaiah's having a good time. All right, Ryan, tell everybody kind of like who you are or what you are.
I'm Ryan Billiot, Southeast Louisiana, proud of it. United Homer Nation.
You're from the West Bank, though, right?
Yeah, that's why I said that out. United Homer Nation, which is just natives of Louisiana. You can trace your heritage back to Louisiana for a long, long ways. You know, so we got a bunch of that mixed in. West Bank originally. Stayed on the North Shore of New Orleans in Folsom from 13 to 17, and then been just drifting and banging on cars and shit ever since.
You think is your car culture originated from New Orleans, or you think it originated from like-minded, like friends and things like that?
No, it's definitely like I get it from. I know exactly where I get it from. I get it from when I was a young kid. Everybody in an old neighborhood having something, you know, with loud pipes and drag racing and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And they also had nothing but cruise nights all around. Shane will tell you, the old days of the West Bank, Buzz Broiler, Chelsea's, all them dudes used to have rallies. And, like, my dad worked offshore. So if my dad was offshore, we'd sneak out and get in trouble because we'd ride our bikes to Buzz Brawler to the cruise night. Because my dad was offshore, he couldn't bring us to go see it. But I was like, fuck, Dad, I'm going.
Yeah, you just go out there and just go check it out.
Yeah. So that's where it came from. That, and then also, too, is the mini trucking thing. I come along when the mini trucking thing was blowing up, which came from the vans of the 70s, but I was born in 78. So I come along when that was phasing out and the van dudes phased into pickup trucks, mini trucks. So I knew where all Marrero...
Wait, you were in that transition between the vans and the mini trucks?
Yeah, I grew up in vans, man. When I was a young kid, my dad had brown van. Well, he had a green van first, then he had a brown van with shag carpet and shit in it. That's what my mom drove, and then my dad had a bike. That was it. That was all we had.
That's all you had?
Yeah.
Wait, your dad just had a bike?
That's when I was a little kid. Yeah.
Not the vans that sell candy.
Not the vans that sell the candy.
Like the
but they had the candy paint jobs, right?
Well, it had the stripes on. Well, the green one was solid green, but the brown one had all the fake wood grain with the stripes and the, you know what I mean? Like whenever like in the, I guess in the later 70s or really more early 80s was when the dealerships and the manufacturers caught on to what they were doing in the custom world on the vans. Mm-hmm. So they started producing like what you know as like Regency packages and Choo-Choo Customs, and that's where all of them dudes came along from.
You know, Southern Comfort was a big one too, but that was like in the 80s and the 90s, and they're still doing it. That's still a big thing. I noticed a lot of guys.
That's where all that came from.
I know a lot of guys and girls that buy way more performance packages and bells and whistle packages than they ever have. You know, they got like at least 17 submodels of a Charger.
Yeah, right.
You know,
right.
So like the people aren't, and then there's still
that's a whole trip too.
And still people though that there's still people out there though that are doing their own thing, and that's kind of what we talked about earlier today. How people like you and I, we kind of do all of our own stuff, all this custom stuff.
Definitely.
You know, and I think what are you talking about? Where it originated from. Like, you know, did your dad do a lot of that too?
Yeah. I mean, my dad was one of them guys that just grew up dirt poor, didn't have shit, so they seen value in everything. You know what I mean? No matter. Yeah. And like my dad and them, I always say like over the past several years, I've said my dad and even just some other dudes way more influential, Mr. Jerry Loop and all of them guys. Them dudes, they were rat rod before. I mean, before rat rod was even rat rod and all of that. You know what I mean? But the true essence of rat rod, of taking what you have for as little money as possible and making it go as fast as possible.
Yeah. There's
jalopies, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those dudes, they were doing that shit, but they didn't realize they were doing it. They were they just wanted fast cars.
But isn't there a soul in that though? There's like way more soul in that.
I don't see, this is what got me out of the mini trucking thing, and this will follow into that. So I mini trucked until the 90s. And I ended up with a 97 Dakota it's on the cover of, I quote the year exactly, I think it's August of 03 of Street Source magazine. You know, it's an internet magazine that was popular back then. I think it's still around. But anyway, I made the cover of that back then. And it was around that time I was just getting frustrated with everything because mini trucking and hot riding, like we said, started out from cheap as possible, doing all the same work you can, all the work you can yourself.
Right.
And then it became he who with the most money. You know,
it gets the
biggest man
limelight
on the block. You know, and he didn't do nothing but go buy the truck and drop it off here and drop it off there. I mean, I guess you're the designer. You designed it. You know, I give him that. It's not that it's not cool, but
well, it's not an equal. Yeah. It's also not.
Don't come to the car show and talk shit about my truck, right? You know, because I didn't have the money. I didn't have the money to do. I mean, I didn't have no money to do. That's when the 20s and shit was all just coming, getting popular. You know what I'm saying? 17s was big, really and truly. You know, but we going into, like I said, go a few years further. So like 99, 2000 wides is when I was really building my little Dakota that come out nice. You know, bag, body drop, interior, the whole 9 yards. It was clean, but it wasn't no $high build. You know, It was clean enough to make it cover. Yeah. So you get like once I build it, and they still want to come, they roll up with the big 20-inch billets. Well, I mean, I had boys, I had 17-inch boys, but you always get questions about it. And I just, you know, I'm the type of person that I'm around the cars because I like to be around the car. I'm not going to a car show to go stand in front of my car with my chest out, going, look what I did. I did this. I did this. I did this. Even though I did do it.
Yeah.
I usually pull up. I make some kind of scene coming in. I was known for dragging my shit. You pull into the show, boom, let the air out whenever you like, you know, they come around with the little registration card and just never pick it back up again. I'd go all the way around and close the truck up and walk away. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. My truck was primer forever, 2 years. Painted it, and the first time out painting it, oh, yeah, but you ain't gonna drag it now. You ain't gonna drag it now.
Yeah, right, man. Yeah. Well, it's that kind of culture, you know. Like with each culture, there's like these little things that everyone kind of does together. Mm-hmm. And I remember Isaiah might remember this reflector collector. You know, like you going down the street, swapping up, like scraping right over the reflectors and tearing them up. It's kind of like, and of course, it's extremely illegal and very careless and reckless and stupid because that's our tax dollars we're spending.
That's why we did it.
That's why he did it, though. You did it to be that idiot type of guy, that silly dude.
Actually, at 18, I had first apartment. You know, 2 other dudes, roommates. And I had like just put them on the dresser, that and rocks. You catch a big rock, you know what I mean? Somebody hit a curb, it'd be a chunk of concrete or something like that, get stuck under the truck. You end up dragging it all the way home. You'd save it, put it by the garage. Or, we had reflectors stacked up.
Well, did you ever have to go back underneath there and reinforce anything after just tearing stuff up?
Oh, yeah. I had a couple of transmission cross members that luckily caught them when we caught them.
Oh.
Yeah. But that was when you get into the later 90s is when everything, it was cool because it got at the height of mini trucking.
Yeah.
But that's when it started, like anything. That's when it started falling downhill, you know, because you started getting, it just started. Commercialized.
But what's the trend right now though? Is there anything sticking?
The bike thing's over. You know, I mean, I kind of got back to doing the bike thing. I had that big bike influence from when I was a young kid. You know. I had a big bike influence in my life. My dad and my uncle and Mr. Jerry Loop used to come by the house and all. They used to go ride when my dad went offshore. So I had that big, but I got into the mini trucking thing. So then after I was like, man, screw these guys. You know, I ain't about all this big money where this scene's going.
Yeah. And,
you know, it's growing pains to a few different things. I moved back to New Orleans. And I got back into the bike scene, you know, and I dove into that just like everything I do. I dive into it freaking head first, you know.
Yeah, just go right in.
So that was the thing for, you know, but even that now, I mean, it's cool because I'm glad I was right, because back then, if you go back to like just before Katrina, 2004, 2005, and they were selling all them big ugly ass 300 rear tire long choppers, you know, because they were all trying to build something like Jesse did.
Yeah.
But they just wasn't doing it proportion right.
Well,
and they were mass producing them too.
Well, and the thing is, Jesse was a pioneer of a lot of that stuff.
Right.
So when people try to replicate a pioneer,
Jesse was
so fast.
What Jesse James was, in my opinion, Jesse James is a superior craftsman that just took everything that was around him and brought it to the mainstream by accident.
Yeah.
It was really by total accident, because he pulled from so many different types of bike culture that was going on in California that he grew up around.
Yeah.
And in a sense created his own style. But he didn't really create his own style. He just used what was around him. And that's what brought it to the masses.
It's kind of what he
said. He had a good eye. You know, I mean, he had the right eye of what was cool. And he did what was cool and what was awesome.
What he always says is he's had good influence in his life.
Yeah,
besides, you know, he's got family issues, but he was, you know, Von Dutch and Indian Larry and Ed Roth and all those iconic guys. They're from that same area where he was trying to pioneer his brand. And then he said after the Discovery Channel, he kind of had a similar story like you had. It's too many guys flashing that money, flashing that big bucks, flashing that TV screen. Hey, man, say this, don't say that. Do this, don't do that. And I think when he got out of there, if you notice that his mind and his expansion of his imagination started spanning over wide. Now he's making firearms. Now he's making culinary knives that are unreal. Super expensive too, but like he's a big believer in craftsmanship.
Yeah,
and so
he had that show on that internet show where he went around.
Yeah, and I think he did something with PBS too.
He went to the woodworker that was not far from him in Austin.
And then he go to Israel, learn the blacksmith.
That was the blacksmith. That was the first episode. Yeah,
was it?
Second episode was a woodworking guy that was out of Austin that was close to him, and dude did some badass woodwork.
Yeah, but that's so nice. Like that's so cool to see him actually live that lifestyle, but also like let other people know, hey man, this stuff still exists, because that's something. And Isaiah kind of made a joke about this artificial intelligence stuff scanning our faces and stuff like that. That's a big fear for AI. Is that AI is going to take a lot of our everyday worker things out of it has, because if you go to Walmart, the cat self checkout thing, one guy tells me if anyone asks him if they need help, he says no, or want to use it, he says no, I don't work here. That's his excuse for not feeding that fire. But Jesse is similar in that aspect of like, hey, you know, if you learn this trade eventually, look how much welders are making now.
Yeah.
I mean, if you would put welder back in the 30s,
that's like going back to like my dad. That's a perfect example of something that has always been like welding. Because I mean, I've heard that a lot lately about welders and all, and it's because they're more in demand because there's less people doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like my dad dropped out, roughly speaking, 6th, 7th grade. You know what I mean? That was the highest of his education.
Oh, wow.
But he went into the shipyard. He ended up becoming a welder. And I mean, he made it. We did good in the 80s. You know, I mean, I grew up in the 80s. We were doing good. My dad was going offshore. He was doing what he wanted. He could walk off a job if he wanted to because he could always work and go somewhere else. He had no education. You know what I mean? My uncle did the same thing. He was just a boat captain. That was the only difference. But those times are different now. You can't just do like what they did. And just say fucking go get a job. Yeah. You know, now you got to go through all this.
You got to
go through all this other shit.
All this red tape.
Computers and I know that's good because you wouldn't have none of this kind of stuff. But I was so anti-computer and stuff for the longest time.
But those hands-on jobs are paying as much as those 8-year degree jobs are now.
No doubt about it. Because there's not as many people wanting to do it.
There's nobody out there hardly.
These kids nowadays.
Look, if you got the South though, there's like a red line you can draw from South and down. But do you think it's going to last longer down here? Hands-on stuff?
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah. This is where the holdout will be for sure.
But why do you think
Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi? Why? Because
let's talk about.
I shouldn't say just in the Midwest. That's some hard-nosed, hard-working people too. Anyway, where there's more blue-collar, hard-working people, it's gonna hold out there the longest. The big cities and all that kind of stuff.
Point.
That's going idiocracy first. That's already. You know, we already on them big cities are already on the opening credits of Idiocracy already. That's where they at right now.
Man, and all it takes is one major cyborg or sciencey electronic terrorist attack, and then it'd be everyone would be screwed up. So you're talking about your life growing up and stuff like that. When you grew up, and then you're how old are you?
41.
41, but you never got social media ever.
Never got social media other than YouTube. You know, I mean, YouTube, but like I don't even sign in on YouTube.
You know, YouTube to me
I just YouTube on my TV since I got the smart TV. Yeah, I do it on.
I've been
TV,
doing that a lot lately
on my phone if I'm somewhere. You know, I do it on my phone and my little iPad. But mainly, like, I mean, I have an iPad. My cell phone, really and truly, I could have a flip phone. The really only reason I got an iPhone is because I do take a lot of pictures of my projects, things that I take apart before I take apart. You know, I love that part about it and everything. But as far as the internet portion of what them iPhones and shit can do, I don't use it for none of that. I mean, the iPhone's useless to me because even when I go on eBay and stuff, I go to my iPad. And I got the mini iPad, you know.
Do you just kind of like didn't want to jump that way, or you?
Well, I mean, it was different reasons. The first reason why I didn't get Facebook was I just, and this sounds worse than what it really is, but it is what it is. I just had people out there I didn't want to find me.
Yeah.
Just had people I didn't want to find me, straight up.
Yeah.
You know? And like I said, it's not as bad as what that sounds, but that's what it was originally. Then I got to the point where I don't care about that no more. You know, like, okay, well, I was childish, and I'm not worried about those people anymore. You know.
Right. Yeah.
But then what came along with that is I went through my kind of some bitter years there. You know, the past not so much this past year, but prior to that, the 10 years before that were kind of the darkest portions of so far in my life, you know, for multiple reasons. And so part of my attitude had that influence on it, but mostly because I just believe in taking care of yourself and not envying nobody else. And I see everybody, it's just like a false reality to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
That's exactly what it is.
Since I didn't get into it right away, I had all these friends that ended up getting into it. And they tell me, "Oh, Ryan, you need a Facebook. You need to get a Facebook. You need to get a Facebook." And this is even before you got, you know, before we started doing the racing thing. Because y'all actually got me close to getting one to be able to keep up with going to the races and going to the car shows and all that. Yeah. So that's the only reason I've almost got one. But what I'm talking about now is the reason what keeps me from getting one. And it's that I believe, I don't think it's good, especially for kids. I don't have kids, and people don't like me talking about kids because I don't have kids, but I don't care. But to me, I'm looking at it like now you're bringing kids up on Facebook, so you can make a kid believe anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can make a kid believe a turd is a Tootsie Roll.
Right.
And as long as his mom, his dad, and his grandma's, he's gonna go to school going, my Tootsie Roll. Seriously, you know what I'm saying? Like, look, you got these motherfuckers believing in Santa Claus till they 10 years old, and since they were 7, you know, there was some kid at school that was like, you know, Santa Claus ain't real. Santa ain't real. Yeah, he is. How the motherfucker come down the chimney, you dumbass? But they still going, Santa Claus is real. Santa Claus is real. Okay, so take that thought process, and now you bringing kids into these people. Are, for the most part, not everybody, for the most part, people are so damn phony. It's a tool for the fake and phony, and I don't like that. So now you got kids only seeing this fake and phony bullshit,
right?
And they have no sense of reality. Well, no wonder they're depressed by the time they're 18 years old and this and that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's other stuff than that. You know what I mean? Text that to her and tell her out in a few minutes.
So if it's in a movie deal. So I had the same theory. At what age are you, or what mental state are you mature enough in order to discern the fake from the real? And I think that Facebook creates this perfect image that you don't even know what is and what isn't anymore. And that's like my thing. Where, you know, some people wouldn't. I don't know. Some people would say this. Some people wouldn't. I don't post pictures when I'm dressed my best, but I don't also like flaunt when let's say, for instance, we go somewhere really, really nice. You know, everyone wants to check in, take that picture, post that thing or whatever. And I tried my best to stay away from it. But whenever I first started, when I got my driver's license and stuff, I was doing it all the time. I was so worried about letting people know where I was, what I was doing, how active I am, what I'm doing, when I'm finishing this. I started this is doing that. And it was robbing me of all that joy you actually get out of doing the things because you're watching it through a screen instead of through your eyeballs and enjoying it with the people with you, next to you, and things like that. You know, so I'm not so much, it did it to me. It kind of said, hey, man, come this way, you know. The devil opened that door and say, man, I got some free candy. You know that what? But if a kid has it though, what do you think that does to that kid whenever he's he or she is introduced into the real world? Do you think that it allows him? Disappointed?
They're gonna be disappointed. It's gonna make them feel like a loser, bro. Because all this whole time they've been seeing all this shit on Facebook with these 16, 17-year-old kids, and they jacked up Jeeps with their side-by-sides and shit, mudding and all. And you don't know the whole backstory on the truck and the side-by-side and all of that. And in them kids' mind, that 16-year-old kid's got a big jacked-up truck with stupid-looking billet wheels and
he can't wait to be
a razor that can't go through the mud because, you know what I mean, it's got too many lights and stereo system on it or whatever. But they think they really got all of that shit.
Yeah, and they think that it's tangible. They think that they can actually get it themselves.
No, it's whatever. A lot of the times it's the kids' parents, or it's, you know, a lot of these younger dudes, especially where we from over there, they go to work in these plants when they're young. You know, they go in the plants at like 18 years old. By 20, they're making big money. By 25, they got a house. They rolling. They got all the cars. By 28, 30, they lose the job. By 35, they banging heroin. They ain't got nothing no more.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen a bunch of times.
That's true. Yeah, I got a lot of buddies that do that. A little bit of victim, somewhat,
not like that, but and me and your dads talked about this a lot, about almost like when you start off younger working, and if you find your glitch early, like we did, you know. I mean, I started working in body shops at 17/18, or started working around cars 17, 18, you know, body shops 19. I was certified body man by 20, 20 years old. So, I mean, I was making grown man money at 20, 21 years old. You know, it's good, but it's almost bad in a way because it comes too easy too quick.
Yeah. Yeah. I've appreciated that in my life. I appreciated struggling, making $7.50 an hour, building those crab boats to almost a year, you know, and then only working my way up to where I am now. And for the past 3 years, I've been self-employed, and I really get it now because I only make money if I go and find it. I don't clock in, so I can't punch a clock or nothing, you know. And a body man working those billable hours, it's the same thing.
That's what kept me on check, was that we are on commission, you know, doing the body work is commission, you know. And like I said, a lot of them dudes, they get into plants, and you know, us at this body shop, we was working. Yeah, they get in them plants, and that's all they got to do is show up. So a lot of them dudes, man, they sit there and look at valves and turn some shit. You know what I mean? Or they walk around as inspectors.
I got a
I'm
buddy.
not saying everybody in plants don't work hard.
Well, I got a buddy who's an instrument operator or whatever. He says I said, what does that mean? He goes, I look at gauges all day.
Yeah, that's a lot of them do that, just simple shit like that. They don't do much.
Yeah, you know, but they all do it for that money, man.
But I do give them props on being able to stay that long, dude. They work long ass hours, unbelievable hours, dude. I couldn't work that kind of hours because I'm that type of person too. I guess it's because I'm a free spirit, but you know, whatever. Friends over the past and different things like that work them kind of jobs. You know, I'm on a turnaround working 7 days a week now, making all the money. I'm like, if you ain't got time to enjoy yourself,
right? Yeah.
You're like, oh man, but I'm gonna be able to enjoy it on the back end when I retire. Well, there ain't no guarantee you're gonna make it to retire.
Why do you want to have a good time when you're old?
I don't get
Come on, man.
I don't get it.
I consider myself a baby still. Why do I want to work so hard when my body is its most capable it will ever be, just to enjoy it when my body is as least capable as when it will ever be? Right. That's not something I want to do. I ain't about all that. Yeah. Speaking of body injuries, I got some, but you got a couple of crazy ones. Tell us how's your recovery coming from that accident? Do you feel like you can't get back to 100%? Are you like 80%? What? I mean, yeah, you tell us about it first, because that I don't know. I might throw up if you tell me again.
Well, all right. I'll just start from where it started at. I'll start the whole story from the Thursday before it happened. So we're going. Me. I think it was just the three of us. Me, Shane, and Isaiah, and we're gonna go to the. I don't know what it was. One of the mini bike races. Oh, it was. Which one was it? Riot. Yeah, the Riot, the Texas Hot Rod Riot. Yep, we were going to that. So, being again on commission body man, you know, I planned out in the week, worked myself in the week to where I could take off the earliest on Thursday because I was driving and we were taking my trail in my mini bikes. Well, little Mikey was going with us. So I take off. I go to I get groceries. When I got groceries, I got a handle of a fifth of Fireball, and I got an 18-pack of PBR. That was my alcohol that I was bringing. That was just the alcohol that I was planning on bringing on the trip. And so I took off of work at 12. I went and did that. I go home. I had a little bit of fiddling to do with the bikes. I load everything up. As I'm doing that, I cracked the 18-pack. I'm like, fuck it. I'll get Lone Star. We're going to Texas. I drink Lone Star in Texas. Yeah. So I start drinking my beer, you know, and I start taking shots. In between, every time I go get a new beer, I was taking a shot, you know. Shit, I'm ahead of the game. We doing good. We're not leaving till 6 in the morning. Well, little Mikey calls panicking. So I told him I was going to come pick him up. We're going to load his bike up tonight or something like, oh, man, I ain't going to go. My bike ain't ready. He was just freaking out. Joe's on the way over here. We're going to see if we can finish it. All right, I'm on my way. Well, the truck was loaded up, hooked up to the trailer. So Mikey's only 2 miles down the road, you know, literally 2 miles down the road. Yeah. And so I jump on the bike and I go over there. Well, the bike turned out not to be as bad. You know, little Mikey just a little panicking, you know, whatever. He did what he had to do. Drank some more while we were there. We got it done. Me and Joe ended up getting so drunk we argued at one point, and then, you know, it was like, oh, I was stupid, whatever. I get on the bike and head home. I got halfway home and straightened the curve out is all it did. I mean, it came around, you know, it was a sweeping curve. There was a stop sign just before that. I don't think I even made it to fourth gear. I mean, I was probably coming out of third, going into fourth, roughly speaking, as I straightened the curve out. Don't know exactly the particulars, but the way you could see everything went down, it slid out from under me. My left leg got caught up under the peg and everything, and then got caught under the primary of the bike. We slammed, and then the bike went end over end. It flung me back into the road, and it flung the bike out into it was like a little cattle field right there. Is what happened to us. I got flung one way, it got flung the other. But my leg got broke when that initial it just slammed and then high-sided me. So that's what happened. So then there's a neighbor guy. I found this out the next day. The neighbor that was right there let me leave my bike there. So the next day, my brother went and picked my bike up. So this is how I found out this portion of the story. So this neighbor guy lives 3 blocks from the corner where I told you I stopped at the stop sign.
Yeah.
My bike's loud. So he said he heard the bike take off, and he said he heard it suddenly stop. And it surprised him because he hears the bikes take off from there. It's a bike, a route, kind of, if you want to say that, it's backcountry roads, So it's like there's a lot of bikes go through there. So he's like, I hear them all. And he said, but it just suddenly stopped. It surprised me. So he thought it broke down. So he walked. This is like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. So he walks out to his door, expecting to see, in his words, expecting to see a guy pushing his motorcycle down the road. He thought a motorcycle quit on somebody, Yeah. And he was going to tell the guy, hey, I'm up. You can push it in my driveway, whatever. And he said he didn't see nothing. Then there was headlights from a car coming, and he could see through the headlights. I was laying like at the foot of his driveway in the middle of the road, bleeding out.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I was out at that point. But I came to pretty quick. They didn't even realize how drunk I was. They didn't even know I was drunk. They just thought I was in shock. I tried to get up at one point, and then I realized just how bad my leg was.
Oh, like it wasn't there, though. Like almost, right?
The back portion of my calf muscle, only the back and the skin, that was all that was connected. Everything 3/4 of the way through my leg was cut in half.
Was it the
muscle,
bike?
bone?
Was it the bike that it crushed it? So it almost like the pressure. Mm-hmm. Ooh, wow!
Just totally.
Wasn't even no sharp edges, nothing. Just the pressure from that bike.
Just the pressure of the bike. Yep.
Oh man!
Because we went down the way I went down, and like I said, the way the foot peg is. When the bike went down, my leg got jammed under the foot peg. So instead of my foot going, instead of when we were going, my foot coming out behind me like that, and just like sliding behind. When the bike went down so fast, because you sit on the Harley. I don't have jockey pegs. I don't have very forward controls either.
Oh, I've been on.
But I don't have jockey pegs, so my feet are forward in front of me.
Yeah.
So when it went down, my foot got caught under the bike that way. I think if I'd have had jockeys, or if you was on like a dirt bike, your foot kind of put your leg down and it kind of comes out from behind.
Well,
you.
those are a little bit lighter too. You kind of push them away almost.
Just
yours,
like I said, mine begins my seating position. When it went down, that leg just rolled right up under the bike. How
long were you set up for?
Straight 3 months.
3 months.
2.5.
What did that do to you mentally?
Well, other than the next day after, so I got in a wreck. Let me go back to where I was at. So the neighbor and all is out there, and the paramedics come. It's Katie and ambulance, and the guy. I'm pretty good by this time, realizing what's going on anyway, and I don't feel no pain or nothing. I realized how bad it was. But I had jeans on, so I couldn't see it actually. You know what I mean? But I felt it enough to know I could feel how bad it was. I mean, there was blood everywhere. I was bleeding bad. So the paramedics come, Katie and ambulance. I can't remember the dude's name. It's a shame on me, saved my life. But it's my sister-in-law's ex-partner. I got a sister-in-law that works for Katie and ambulance. Mm-hmm. And so he comes up. He texts my name, Ryan Bill. He's like, Bill, Sandy, Bill, Ashley, Bill. I was like, yeah, it's my brother and my sister-in-law. And he's like, Ashley's my ex-partner. And the way I remember it anyway, his next question was, he said, Ryan, you been drinking tonight? And I said, yeah, dude, I drank a lot. And he was like, all right, I'm going to hurry and get you in the ambulance before the cops get here. I was like, all right, cool. So he stuck me up in there. So I didn't get no DUI, I didn't get no tickets, I didn't get nothing.
He saved that part of you.
The next part I remember is when he starts cutting my pants. And he said, man, I'm going to cut your boots off. And I had my Red Wings on. And I remember purposely saying this to try to make a light mood out of it. I said, oh, man, don't cut my Red Wings, man. That's my good boots, man. That's my $200 boots, And whoever this was over here, I couldn't see him. I was starting to get tunnel vision. I don't know if it was another paramedic or a cop maybe or a neighbor. I'm assuming it was another paramedic probably. But whoever that was said, oh, dude, I don't think you're going to need that boot anymore anyway. Because if you'd seen my leg, it was at that point, there was no saving it.
At this point, did you see your leg?
Yeah. But, I mean, in the ambulance, when you're laying there and you're looking down, it looks gnarly. But, I mean, it wasn't like I was being able to sit up and look straight and go, But, yeah, I was able to look down enough and tell that it was bone and meat and flesh torn. And
Not pointing in the right
not pointing in the right direction. And yeah, I mean, well, when I was laying on the ground, my leg was all the way like this. When I was laying in the street waiting I was conversating with the two neighbors. The other neighbor came out by this time. I tried to stand up at one point. They were like, "Oh, no, dude." And then that's when I started like feeling on it. I realized when they said, "No, don't get up," I didn't even realize the sole of my boot was facing me. Because I tried to get up and I scooted. And when I tried to get up and scoot, my boot just went.
Oh my
It
goodness!
was cool.
Oh man! Whoa.
Cool. And that's when I was like, "Ooh!" And I said it's gonna be the fifth one. I looked up at the dudes. I said, "Ooh, yeah, I fucked up this time, huh?"
Oh,
and they were like,
man.
"Yeah, dude, stay down."
Yeah. Stay down. What happened the next?
That wasn't the first wreck. But I actually had put my bike in the ditch like 2 months before that.
But what happened? What happened after that? How'd you have a mentality of like getting back from that?
Getting back from that?
Yeah, like you look at your leg.
Actually,
legs.
Most people would say look at something like that and be like, "That was bad." Dude, I was like, I look at that as the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because right before that, I was in a dark ass place. People don't even know the dark place I was at. Yeah. And Tiffany was fixing to leave me. I already knew that at that point. It was almost like a mutual thing. We were just kind of hanging out until she got done with her school thing. You know, not like 100% committed to that, but I think we both knew that it was probably going to end up that way. You know what I mean? It saved our marriage. Damn sure saved my marriage.
So that tragedy saved you.
Yeah. And see, wow. I got some friends. I'm friends with everybody, man. All kinds of people. You know what I mean? A lot of people think that which I am. I mean, I'm an asshole. You know, I am. I admit that.
Yeah.
You know, but a lot of people think I'm just this hard ass asshole racist person, and I'm really not. You know, I'm really not at all. But I got all kind of friends. I got some art friends in New Orleans, really, really liberal art friends in New Orleans and stuff, and it blows their mind because they get down there and I can conversate with them. We hang out Maple Leaf in New Orleans and shit. Some people that hang out places like that and all, you know. And it blows their mind that like I don't agree with them on like all the healthcare stuff and all. And they go, "Man, here you sitting here with a broke leg," and because I'm paying my bill, you know. I mean, I paid what I could cash. Luckily, I had a couple bucks saved. I was paid what I could cash, and the rest of it, I made a deal with the hospital, and they dropped it down to like $26,000.
That's so
the remaining amount from
wow.
originally like $78,000. I paid what I could, and they dropped the remaining amount. Which I only paid like $5,000 cash out of my pocket, you know, what I could, and the rest of it they wrote down to like $26,000. And people are still go, "Oh man, don't pay that, don't pay that." I'm like, well, no. For one thing, I got decent credit. You know, I got pretty good credit. It's not the best, but I mean, I got good credit. And I don't want to hurt my credit at this point over $26,000 when I can just the lady's literally sitting there telling me, "I'm putting you on a $100 a month program, but as long as you send $5 a month in, you'll be fine." Well, why would I hurt my credit over that? And more importantly, why would I put that on the taxpayers?
Yeah.
Why would I put my mistake on the taxpayers? It was my mistake. I was drunk. Getting back to my story, after I went to the hospital, they did the surgery, they put a rod in my leg. I woke up the next morning in the hospital. And, of course, typical fashion, I'm blowing it off. I'm telling everybody I'm going to be back to work in 3 weeks, you know. Everybody's calling, coming up to the hospital. Ain't no big deal. I called him first. I FaceTimed him. First time I ever FaceTimed anybody was you in the hospital. First time I ever did that. And
wow.
I FaceTime, I can't even see out of one eye. It's crazy looking. And my beard was the longest ever. I mean, my beard was huge.
I remember when you had that long beard.
I remember saying something about I finally got my stripes or something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, you gotta realize a person like me. I'm not saying this is right, wrong. I'm not saying it macho. It's just not right in the head sometimes. I've always known something like that was gonna happen. You know what I mean? And especially in that moment in my life, I hoped that I died when it happened. You know what I mean? It's kind of crazy when people say that. Well, it's not that I wasn't suicidal, and I wasn't. It's just I don't care. You know what I mean? I just didn't got to where I didn't care whether I did live or die, and the drinking and riding and partying and all was more important. You know? So I didn't care for that. I felt like, well, what's the difference? I don't have no kids. There's no mom and dads. There's no grandmas at Christmas or nothing like that. Most of my Christmas, I prefer. I want it to be this way. It's not because I don't have places to go, trust me. But most of my Christmas, Thanksgivings, I spend at home by myself because my wife gets paid double time and she works.
Yeah. Nice.
But so I don't want that to sound like I ain't got places to go.
Well, that's your lifestyle.
That's
Yeah,
my
that's what you
lifestyle.
choose.
That's what I choose. That's what I prefer. You know. But so I don't remember exactly where I was going with that.
Well, you were telling me how you kind of jump back into a new place in your life after that happened.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. I just had a conversation with a guy who's playing at this hotel in Baton Rouge, and he's a musician, and he just quit his job to go full time. He has 2 gigs a day. He works from Wednesday to Sunday. 2 gigs a day, and on weekends, if he can get in a third, he does. And he was telling me about that. He was telling me how he learned. And, I learned a lot through our tragedies that our family went through. When Luke passed away, after that, I think we all kind of had like these make or break moments where like, this is either gonna drag you down, or you can leave that negative impact behind you and only carry the positive forward.
The negative is so easy to go that direction.
Yeah.
And that's why everybody goes that direction, because the negative's easy.
And it's almost alluring, though, don't you think, too? It's almost like, hey, this is so much better to be over here. Less work, less effort, not as much hardship. You just give in.
Right.
Just drink yourself drunk every night. Just stone yourself every single moment of every single day. Don't worry about it. Talk bad about these people. Sulk in it. And I can't sulk in that kind of stuff. I can't sulk in negativity, man. I can't be around somebody who constantly complains.
Right.
I'm starting to get vocal about it. I'm starting to say like, dude, would you just shut up?
Right.
Shut your mouth. Freaking do whatever it is you have to do to fix your life, because you're bringing me down, man, and I want to be around you right now.
That's one thing I hated working in the body shops, dude. And I mean, I think I went through a point in my life.
Bunch of whiny babies.
Man, you talk about some babies, dude.
Bunch of babies in the body shops.
So much
man.
talented guys, man. It's like, dude, you're talented and you're doing what you're doing, and man, just shut up and do your work. But dude, there's some babies.
So many babies in there.
And there's so many. I say there's people in the world that there's just, I guess, like you say, negativity is easy, so they do it. But they just complain about everything.
Yeah.
They complain about how cold it is in the winter. The first day that it's hot, they're going, son of a bitch, it's hot today.
It's almost like
because it was 32 degrees.
It's almost like they need something to put in their mouths to talk, because they're not into. Most of those guys aren't intellectuals either. They don't really know. Like, they can't have a conversation with. I tried having a conversation about a guy about global warming. We were talking about global warming. He's like, it's just a bunch of make believe. I'm like, in certain parts of the world, global warming is not make believe. They can't walk across a street without their shoes melting. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh well. I guess so. I'm like, look, I'm talking to like a wind-up dog. He's giving me like the same stuff over and over. I'm like, I can't believe that. I don't know. I get frustrated. I'm just getting frustrated right now.
They only talk about what they hear. You know what I'm saying?
They
just puppet. I call them kind of people, and they're not all bad people. I'm not saying that. And like I said, different times. I've probably been accused of maybe being one of these, but usually it's because I was fucked up or something. But no, I call them the parrots, man. They parrots because they can only repeat what they hear.
Yeah,
they just parrots.
You don't watch the news.
But like I say, parrots are cool to look at. They're cool to hang out with every now and then. But just know that it's a parrot. That's all. Don't let it aggravate you, because it's a parrot. It's not very intelligent.
And that's
it
what
can
I
only
have
repeat
to.
What it hears.
I have to remind myself that, because I keep feeling like they're poking me. But they're not even. They could be having a conversation at another table, and I can hear it. And I'm like, oh, y'all are just. I can't sit right. But I do let it get to me. I try not to react about it. Which I think are two different things. You can get annoyed, but always reacting is not always a positive thing anyway.
Yeah, right.
Either,
What is it? I don't know how I'm gonna say that. Whatever. I don't know. I just remembered what part of the story I was at again.
Oh, that part.
That's how my brain works. for the podcast, for you people that don't know me, that's how my brain works. No. Well, so, because this will tie in. When we listen back to it, it'll all tie in. So, the moral of that whole story, telling you about my leg getting broke, I did all of that shit that night, all the way up to the point of talking to them paramedics clearly, to the point of them not even realizing that I was drunk and all, because drinking that much came so naturally to me at that point. Mm-hmm. So after my surgery, I get out the next day, and the first day that Tiffany went to work after my surgery, I think was 2 days later, I hobbled down the stairs, because she would have killed me if she would have known. And I still don't think she knows. She will when she hears. But I hobbled down the stairs. I still have my full cast on. I hobbled down my stairs because I was going to get a beer. I was like, fuck, I'm going to get a beer. I don't care. This is like 3 days after my surgery, dude.
Wow.
Like, I'm going to get a beer. And I hobbled down the step, sat on my ass and went out the trailer one step at a time, got my cartridge, went out to my shop, opened it up, because I knew that 18-pack was in there from 3 days before, 2 days before, whatever. I knew that 18-pack and that Fireball was in there. Wow. And I opened that refrigerator, bro. I looked in there, and there was like 4 PBRs left, and half of that fifth of Fireball was gone. That's what I drank before I got on my bike and went to Mikey's. And we did more shots and drank more beer at Mikey's.
Jeez.
That's the point that I got to. I was over. I don't remember the exact. My brother remembers it the best, but I forget what it was. But I was like 3.8 something, or some shit like that.
Wow. So you could even possibly still been like, were you drunk when you woke up? Wow.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I didn't feel nothing when all the neighbors came out, and the paramedics and all was there, and they couldn't tell.
Yeah.
It's because you talking about a seasoned alcoholic that was in his zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my leg was broken half, but.
Well, what kind of mentality did you have after that? Did it change? Was it like a
shock? It was like a reality shock.
Reality check
No doubt
type of
about
thing?
I thought I drank like 4 beers and took 2 shots and got on my bike and rode home.
Is that what that does? Is that how most alcoholics maybe think? I only had a couple, They buy these big 24 packs, 18 packs. I only had a few. I didn't have that much. And go back the next day and then realize the whole thing's gone.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who counts? Yeah.
And when you become a real beer drinker, a 12-ounce can beer is your preferable beer. I mean, I know people are going to argue and they're going to say, oh, I like long necks and I like it. Yeah, beer drinker connoisseurs like long necks and stuff like that. I'm talking about drunk ass beer drinkers like canned beer, 12-ounce canned beers. And for the most part, for a real beer drinker, that could be 2 gulps. I can finish a 12-ounce comfortably, not shotgunning, not trying to. That 12 ounce can be gone, especially if I'm like cutting grass. I get off the lawnmower, go to my shop, 2 gone. So when you become a real drinker, they go down so smooth, dude. You don't even realize. So yeah, that was a huge reality check for me. I still drink and all, but I don't drink half, quarter of what I used to.
Well, all things in moderation, including moderation, though.
Yeah.
And I think that's a Zig Ziglar saying. You working on any cool projects right now? I heard you talking about a truck earlier.
No, not too much with that truck. I won't say nothing about that yet. I can't divulge none of that. I'm not working on it yet. That's a future. That's a coming up.
A future endeavor.
That's an old project that's coming up to be.
Are you able to do the shop thing like you used to? Like go out in the shop now and just spend hours and
well,
hours?
getting back to my leg and shit. Like so, that was this past February 5th made a year. I laid up 3 months. Then I started back part time, and about 4 months later, I started part timing at Toulouse Street Rods, just doing bondo work, trying to stay off my leg, but just standing there doing bondo work. Then we went to cruising the coast. I did a little bigger job or whatever before cruising the coast. Went to cruising the coast and got back in my zone and was like, man, I'm gonna go back full time. Callcraft, they the guy, Bodyman quit. I've worked on and off for Callcraft for like 8 years now. So they got a guy quit, they'll call me, kind of on reserve type thing, whatever. And yeah, I'm available, I'll come. So I jumped back in that full time. And then into December, my legs started burning like fire, man. I mean, it started swelling bad and shit. And then I got insurance again, which didn't kick in until like mid-January. So when that kicked in mid-January, I told my wife, yeah, make an appointment. Something's going on. And then roughly around that same time, it had done split it back open. So the womb actually busted back open.
Whoa.
And I got
from the inside, though?
Yeah, I'm going to get what it was started spitting out shards of bone. They're roughly the size of like a grain of rice, maybe a little slimmer. But, that length of a grain of rice started